exclusive broadcaster of the Labor Day Classics and proud home of the 2009 Grey Cup. Well, the atmosphere unbridled, as you might expect from the traditional prairie dust-up that is the Labor Day Classic. The weather as hot as the rivalry. And the wind could be a factor today, gusting up to 47K. And already we have controversy, and it comes right out of the coin toss just moments ago. Listen in.
It's ahead. You've won the toss. You can choose now or defer. Defer to the second half. What would you like to do now? Kick or receive? You want to kick the ball? Okay. What side would you like?
We'll receive on the side.
Okay.
Hold on. Are you asking what side we would take?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
We're going to take.
Yeah, you said you want to kick.
No.
Switch sides. Kick or receive.
So the Roughriders win the toss, and when Baron Simpson got an option, he said, I want to kick that way. And all Glenn Johnson heard was, I want to kick. And now Mike Kelly comes over with the captains. He confers with Glenn Johnson.
Well, here's the controversy right now. At the coin toss, you can defer, elect to receive, or elect to kick off. The Riders won and deferred. Now, Winnipeg can only elect to now kick off or receive. They elected to kick off. They don't get choice of end. So Saskatchewan picked the end actually twice, changed their mind. Glenn Johnson allowed it, so Saskatchewan will receive the ball in the Labor Day Classic.
So the Roughriders will work against the wind in this opening quarter, and will have the wind advantage in the fourth. And there's the newcomer, well, familiar face to both teams, a former Bomber and Roughrider, Jason Armstead, making his 2009 debut as a return man along with Stu Ford. I'd like to say hello to all the fans in Winnipeg watching at Canada Stadium as part of the Never Alone Foundation. Here we go, Labor Day Classic 2009, and the kickoff drives Armstead 10 yards deep. He'll put a knee down, and the first point of the game goes to Winnipeg on the kickoff.
Wind may be a factor in this game this afternoon, as well as the atmosphere, the intensity, and the emotions. And let's take a look at the starting offense for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, led by Darian Durant, who elected to stay in Regina during the bye week. Watch some game film and try and improve his game. There's the starting receiving core. Their leader is Weston Dressler. They will move him all over the formation. And in the offensive line, a couple of changes. Antonio Hall will rotate with Chris Best at guard, and they push Gene Mikowski from guard out to tackle due to an injury to Bobby Harris.
Starting lineups are brought to you by Nissan, fan and proud sponsor of the CFL. So coming off one of his best games of the year, Darian Durant, despite a loss to Montreal, tossed for 326 yards against the Alouettes. The Roughriders felt it was a statement performance by their offense, and they hope to pick up where they left off offensively. As Durant rolls, throwing against the wind, looking for Weston Dressler, who lunges unsuccessfully for the opening pass of the game.
Defensively for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Fred Perry out of the lineup, so they'll move Dorian Smith from inside in the interior of that defensive line outside. Don Ramasian will go into the middle of that defensive line. In the linebacking core, they got Baron Simpson in the middle. He leads the league with 55 tackles. No Ian Logan at safety, so they'll move Sadiq Shabazz back there for the second straight game.
That defense, second stingiest in the league, behind Montreal in points allowed. Here's 2nd and 10. Durant throws and Rob at the 45-yard line, and he'll pump up the crowd with the first big play of the game.
And the crowd doesn't need much to get pumped up on this afternoon. This is the game of the regular season for both these teams, and what a way to start for the offense on 2nd and long for Rob Bagg to make a spectacular catch.
And with that 10-yard gain, a first down, and he's already eclipsed his receiving yardage of all of last season. It's been a good second year for Rob Bagg at wideout for Saskatchewan. Now they'll swing it out, get it in the hands of the dangerous Weston Dressler, who broke one tackle and gets up to the 53, brought down by Ike Charlton.
one of the things for both these teams, which is unlike any other game of the regular season, is that they'll have to try and control their emotions. It's easy in this game to get too high. And Mike Kelly for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers even mentioned to us yesterday, he said when your team gets high and rides that roller coaster, as high as they get, that's as low as they'll drop out too. So maintaining an even keel is important in this one.
Both quarterbacks said the same thing, unprompted yesterday, have to remain level-headed. 2nd and 3, Cates left side, looking for a first down, and he's got it. Wes Cates brought down by Baron Simpson, the middle linebacker, but 2 valuable first downs against the wind on the opening drive for Saskatchewan.
And they're going to have to really bang away at this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. Joe Lobendon is in the linebacking core. He kind of loses his footing here a little bit, and that's what allows Wes Cates to pick up the extra yards there. You saw 58 kind of slide down, but you know Baron Simpson isn't far away.
Wes Cates with only one 100-yard rushing game. There was a suggestion they'd pass more to him today, and there's another first down. Rob Bagg, another catch. He's drilled out by the weak side corner, Javon Johnson.
Darian Durant, I mentioned out of the gate, stayed in the bye week in Regina. Everybody goes home at that time, tries to get away from the game a little bit. Darian Durant felt it was important to break down the games that he'd played so far, try and find different ways to improve his performance. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, which is tied for second with Ricky Ray, but he has those 11 interceptions, and that's what he wants to eliminate.
Here comes the safety blitz, but Cates runs by it into the secondary, and finally he's hauled down by Lenny Walls, but a big burst by Cates as they catch the Bombers on the safety blitz.
Well, Chris Getzlaff, who was in the game for Andy Fantu, is going to make a key block. He's going to come across the formation from right to left. Here comes Weston Dressler as well, and that blitz is picked up right in the middle of your screen right there by Chris Getzlaff, and Wes Cates just runs right by the blitzing Sadiq Shabazz.
23 for Cates, 7th play of the drive. Roughriders with a couple of opening drive touchdowns this season. They'll look in. And a completion to Jerron Walker who had a 43-yard touchdown catch in Saskatchewan's last game against the Owls.
Nice opening drive for the Riders, and Darian Durant is doing what he was trying to work on through that bye week, and that's be patient. Not to force the ball deep, be careful with the football, and take what the defense is giving him. And right now, he's working the ball to Dressler, working it underneath, and he's got the running game going as well.
Said, I can't be greedy. 9 of my 11 interceptions because I tried to bite off too much. First down, play fake, Cates, try to get outside, it does, to the 5, Durant to the goal line, and then took a low bridge hit, and is stopped at the 1 when he thought he was in.
K.U. Craver came up from the secondary, and he put a hellacious hit on Darian Durant, who takes it. He doesn't hook slide, he doesn't try to get himself out of bounds. And boy, I tell you what, it's the small things that a quarterback does that creates a great leader. And to stay in the bye week and study and then run plays like that and take a hit like that to get down on the goal line, those are the small things that it takes to become a great leader.
Well, we often see Stephen Giles in short yardage situations. Durant looks like he's still feeling the effects of the hit by Craver, so Giles is in. Cates the lone setback. 1st and goal from the 1. And Giles, quarterback option, touchdown!
Both quarterbacks laying it on the line early. Because Giles took a big hit there, too, by Joe Lobendon.
Yep, they both paid the price, and the result, an opening touchdown drive of 75 yards for the Riders.
Can't play it much better from Joe Lobendon's position. He slides in at linebacker, puts a big hit, but there's the leg strength of Stephen Giles. That's why he runs those short yardage plays.
5:08 into the game, and a valuable touchdown against the wind to open proceedings here in the 2009 Labor Day Classic. And Conti supplies the extra point. Roughriders have the lead. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939. 4 rushing plays, 5 passes, 9 plays, 75-yard touchdown drive for the Roughriders.
Tremendous start, get the crowd involved. Rob Bagg got things going. Nice one-handed catch on 2nd and long, and saw a little of that Labor Day weekend intensity in drive number 1.
Short kickoff, bouncing to Fred Reed. And Reed surrounded and brought down quickly. Jarrell Freeman has the tackle just short of the 39, and both quarterbacks might have a headache.
Yeah, a little woozy, and I'll show you a little of that intensity on the Labor Day weekend and a little want-to factor. And that's want-to and Darian Durant putting it out there and taking a huge hit to get him down to the 1, and Stephen Giles doing the same to get across that goal line for the opening score. So both players with that tremendous want-to factor in drive number 1.
So here come the Bombers on offense. 518 yards of offense. Most of it on the ground against BC. They come out throwing, and that's broken up. Lance Fraser with the knockdown on the pass intended for Romby Bryant.
Take a look at the starting offense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Of course, all the headlines revolving around Fred Reed and his 260 yards versus the BC Lions in their last game. Bernard played well in that one also. Really the only team offensively in the league that plays with 2 backs and 4 receivers. Romby Bryant moves inside again, a couple games in there now. And Avi Khan plays in at center, Donnelly at guard.
Michael Bishop was the quarterback on the other side a year ago in this matchup. And here's Evanson Bernard. And he has a first down. Tad Cornegay with the stop across the 50-yard line. So the Bombers get an important first down on their opening drive.
Defensively, Saskatchewan Roughriders know what they have to do, and that is to stop the run. Stevie Baggs is the defensive player of the month. Huge month of August for Stevie Baggs, and John Chick just behind him in the sack totals. Mike McCullough in at linebacker for his 3rd start for Ray Williams, a secondary that has remained intact for all 8 games with James Patrick at safety.
And here's the player of the month offensively, Fred Reed, and he drives across midfield down to the Saskatchewan 51. Well, it was a historic performance a couple of weeks ago in BC for Fred Reed.
That was just one of those once-in-a-lifetime type of performances, although Fred Reed really believes that he can do this every time he gets the ball. He had 26 carries, 260 yards, and I mentioned Evanson Bernard. He had 11 for 112, so 2 backs over 100 yards against the BC Lions.
And here's that deep set to the give to Reed, and he'll have a first down on 2nd and 2.
Of course, all the credit goes to the big boys up front when you have a big game rushing like that, and Fred Reed made sure that he gave every one of those offensive linemen one of these T-shirts that he had made quickly with the rush yard total on the back.
It's a lot of cotton.
And he will also be taking them out for a big steak and seafood dinner when they get back to Winnipeg and have a chance to all get together. So the big boys up front, just as important, if not more. Only back has a big game.
Excuse me, Glenn. Only Ronnie Stewart in 1960 and George Reed in 65 rushed for more yards in a game. And that Bishop pass too high for the intended target, Terrence Edwards, who hasn't practiced much this week for Winnipeg, recovering from turf toe.
Every player in the Saskatchewan Roughrider defense that I talk to want to create this situation, and that is to get Michael Bishop into 2nd and long. They want to be solid on the run, and then they want to put Bishop in the pocket and see if Bishop's arm can beat them.
2nd and 10, and we saw in BC not shy about running on 2nd down, but here they will throw, and there is Terrence Edwards, and he'll be stopped short at the 41-yard line. So the field goal unit will have to come on for the Bombers.
You mentioned Michael Bishop. This time last year, wearing a Saskatchewan Roughrider jersey, he was parachuted into Saskatchewan, and in a couple of days started in the Labor Day Classic and won that game. In fact, the Saskatchewan Roughriders swept the Bombers in those back-to-back games last year.
Alexis Cerna, 1 miss in his last 6 games, hitting at 85%. We could see a 60-yarder today. This from 48 yards out. And Cerna, as he has been all year is sharp. 7-4, Saskatchewan. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. So Alexis Serna, 48-yard field goal. Ken Miller's team has the lead, 7-4, with 6:22 remaining in this opening quarter. Last win for Winnipeg in Saskatchewan was 2004. Since then, 5 straight Roughrider wins. Here's Armstead. Up across the 30. Providing a spark. These two teams with the worst return yards in the league. Armstead brought in to improve that. Let's check in with Ray Morrison.
Well, one of the traditions here in Regina with regards to the Labor Day weekend is the autograph signing the day before. Yesterday, thousands of fans came on to Mosaic Stadium, onto the field to get their autographs from their favorite Roughriders. The Riders have done this for a lot of years, but that had meant that the Bombers were relegated to the practice field. Mike Kelly said he'd like a look at Mosaic Stadium the day before the game, but didn't get it. But on the way over to the practice field, mysteriously, Chris, the Bombers remembered that Canada Stadium just might be busy next Saturday for the second game of this home and home. Back to you.
Yes, there's apparently an old rocky field that might have the Roughriders' name on it for practice next week.
Yeah, Doug Brown was talking to Mike Kelly when they were walking on the grass field, the practice field, and saying, Coach, let's make sure our field is busy and we push Saskatchewan next week to the grass field and they can deal with the mosquitoes. That's what it's all about this weekend in the back-to-back games, the Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl.
2nd and 6, empty backfield for Durant. Quick hitter to the sidelines. Rob Bagg, another catch, another first down. And if Rob Bagg didn't make that highlight reel catch on the opening drive of the game, it's a 2-and-out, and Saskatchewan doesn't have the lead.
Now, his biggest game of the year was versus the BC Lions. Had 5 catches in that game for 120 yards. So it looks like in his second year, Rob Bagg is taking a major step forward in his progression as a receiver. But you're right, Chris, that first catch was a big one. Kept that drive alive, and it ended up in that major.
So the numbers for Bagg here early. 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games. First down and back into the hands of Wes Cates. Trying the right side. Finds a hole. Has a first down at the Winnipeg 50-yard line before Shabazz and Craver converge. 11 more for Cates.
I talked to the coaching staff of the Riders about Wes Cates, and a bit of a slow start. One of the reasons for that is because he was injured coming off that shoulder coming up through training camp, and they want to work him in slowly. Also, they felt that last year they really leaned on Wes Cates in the first 8 games, and they thought that they may have wore him out a little bit, and then down the stretch at the end of the season he was a little bit beat up. They want to try and keep him fresh for the stretch run.
4 starts. He's had under 40 yards this year. He's over 40 already, and here's Cates out into the flat with the catch. And Gary Durant mentioned to us yesterday we might see more of that than pounding Cates today.
Well, yeah, and there's different ways to get the ball to your running back. You don't have to just give it to him on the handoffs up the middle, but you can do those toss sweeps to the outside, quick screen passes, little pick plays to the short side of the field like you just saw on that last one, but there's lots of different ways to get the ball to your tailback.
5 on that play, 2nd and 5, and Claremont in motion. Looking backside, and another first down grab. Jerron Walker's got it in front of Javon Johnson, the former Rough Rider, on the corner for Winnipeg.
Javon Johnson leads the league in interceptions, so you know he's going to be close by. He's working right here in one-on-one on Jerron Walker, who just sticks him up the field, tries to get him to turn his hips a little bit and turn like he's going to go deep, and then turn around on that curl. The ball was on time. That's almost impossible to defend if the throw is perfect like that from Darian Durant.
Well, the extra week of tape study looks like it has benefited Darian Durant. 6 for 7 to start, and here's Weston Dressler trying to turn the corner. Gets to the edge, close to another first down.
They will move Weston Dressler all over the formation. At times he'll line up at wide receiver. At times he'll be in the slot position. They have a whole set of play packages for Weston Dressler. He starts down at the bottom right corner of your screen, and then he's going to come all the way across the formation and takes the ball in that handoff going from right to left.
8th run of the year for Weston Dressler. And the yardsticks come out close to a first down. For a guy who had a career game last week against Montreal receiving with 179.
Yeah, and I asked him, you know, if he thought that there were at times defensive backs because of his size at 5'7", 179. He gets the first there. Because of his size, are defensive backs sort of underestimating you when you get out there? And he says, you know what they do is, I think they know my speed and they've watched film, but they try and take the big knockout shot on me. They try and line me up and try to go for that knockout hit. And because of that, sometimes I get the advantage, I get some leverage, and I can make them miss. And he's trying to use that aggressive play from defensive backs to his advantage.
Sounds like out of the Ben Cahoon playbook.
Yeah, and he reminds me a little of Jeff Fairholm as well, a former Saskatchewan Roughrider.
Double tight ends, first down. And Durant, that long out to Rob Bagg again. Makes the first man miss, and then Walls pushes him out just inside the 20-yard line.
Now, Darian Durant's off to a great start, Chris. You mentioned it. I think that bye week really made a big difference for him. He broke down the film. He broke down his mistakes. He was his own worst critic. Took a hard look at where he was making mistakes and why. He's in command of the huddle right now. He's throwing the ball on time, and he's using the entire field. He is in complete control right now.
And Rob Bagg has been a favorite target. That's his 4th catch of the game. Sets up 2nd and 4. They empty it out. Durant has time, looking for Claremont. Incomplete, but a flag down. A little pushing there between Claremont and Jonathan Hefney.
I'm not sure which one the flag is for, because you're right. Jonathan Hefney was grabbing a little bit, and there was some push-off from Jason Claremont.
Forward pass interference. Winnipeg number 23. First down at the point of the foul.
I think Hefney thought it was going the other way.
Yeah, you know, it was back and forth, and this is one of those plays, Chris, that I've always thought that you just sort of let the players determine the outcome. I mean, a little grab there, and I believe that's where Hefney got called, not on the pull when Claremont was pushing him at the end of the play, but as he made his break. I think he grabbed that jersey a little bit, and that's why he drew the flag.
So the ball marked on the 3-yard line, and again, short yardage. Stephen Giles checks in. And a timeout called Saskatchewan. A little confusion there.
Saskatchewan.
They had players coming onto the field late, including Marcus Adams, the defensive tackle.
Yes, it looked like they were trying to get the big boys out there. Keith Sholigan was also trying to get on the field late. Stephen Giles realized he didn't have the right formation and quickly called a timeout.
And we know what Keith Sholigan could do offensively after the last home game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Big touchdown for him.
He has to go back to the bench. Touchdown number 2 may not be coming yet.
He might have worked on a touchdown dance too. That's too bad.
They were saying in the wake of that game that in practice he's about 50-50 catching the ball or not catching it.
That's not bad odds. Big man like that, he can block well. You know he can do that on the run.
So Durant checks back in. Cates in the backfield, takes the handoff, drives to the end zone. Touchdown, Roughriders.
This is a case of one Saskatchewan play leading to and setting up the defense for the next time they're down there. First time on the goal line, Giles went laterally along the line of scrimmage and tried to push the edge. This time they go into the middle with Wes Cates, who's patient, waits for his blocks to set up. He gets one from Jeremy O'Day and pounds it in there.
Back-to-back touchdown drives against the wind for Saskatchewan, both 9-play drives. Wes Cates has his 3rd touchdown of the season. Kanji the point after. And the Roughriders lead by 10 with a minute 38 remaining here in the opening quarter. Roughriders
love y'all. Thank you, Jesus.
Roughriders with 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns. Wes Keats capping the last drive. Suits have had the ball for 9:34 here in the first quarter against the Winds.
Yeah, and the other downside for Mike Kelly and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is that they're a run-first team, as we know, and it's tougher to come back from a deficit when you run the football as your primary offensive attack.
Here's Javon Johnson with a good return across midfield, and then tripped up on his own, and Jamie Borum will down him at the Roughrider 48-yard line. So good field position for the Bombers.
Hey, man, glad you came. Make you Caesar?
It's okay. I brought some. Expertly pre-mixed, the Mott's Clamato Caesar. When you see one, you want one.
HP printers and inks give you up to 65% more pages than bargain inks. That's not just talk, that's a real bargain.
This is our game, where heroes are born. A ritual that bridges cultures, generations, nations.
Canada gets the goal!
A tradition played on roads, rinks, and ponds. It's a part of our culture that raises the nation to tears and cheers. Celebrate our game at the Hockey Hall of Fame.
So the Blue Bombers will have the football at the Saskatchewan 49-yard line. And we're seeing something a little different from Winnipeg sending in the plays this week, Glenn.
Yeah, usually signals coming from the sideline, usually the backup quarterbacks. This time the backup quarterbacks are just writing it down on the whiteboard. They're giving you 2 options for Michael Bishop. So Bishop gets 23 or 30. He looks at his play card, he looks at the numbers, and one of those 2 will be the live number, the one he's got to call. But he's got to keep some drives going, give his defense a rest, or that'll come back to haunt him in the fourth quarter.
Well, the Bombers have been slow starters this year, in particular on the road. And so they've hit their first quarter average, but it's been a tough first quarter without taking advantage of the wind.
Mike Kelly will stay with the run. He's not going to abandon it. You can see that formation and how deep those running backs are. Right back in that area.
So Bernard 11 yards back. Reed 13, 14 yards back, and they were waiting for him. Tad Cornegay, the Will linebacker, was waiting in the hole for Fred Reed.
Usually the running backs line up about 5 to 6 yards behind the quarterback. For the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, it's up to 10, sometimes 12 yards back. And what they want to do is have a receiver come in motion and the backs hit the line at the same time. So there's a junction point, and then they go in different directions after that. The problem with the defense is they don't know who has the ball when Bishop turns around, but clearly Saskatchewan has been scouting it out.
Osterhaus at tight end. 2nd and 12. Bishop in trouble. John Chick knocks him down and gets the sack. And he'll tie his teammate Stevie Baggs for the CFL lead at 7.
And John Chick just devoured the tackle. He came off the edge. He's at the top. He comes around the corner, and watch the power from John Chick in his 7th sack as he just powers by Glenn January and just works his way to Michael Bishop.
Well, he missed 2 games in the opening half of the season, but still now a league leader in quarterback sacks. Mike Renaud to kick. And he takes something off it, and it'll bounce down inside the 15-yard line. Renaud telling me before the game that anytime he really tried to kick the ball with the wind, it was sailing 70, 75 yards, and he was going to have to take something off it to keep the ball in play.
Of course, they kick it out of bounds. As you know, the new rule, they kick it out of bounds outside the 20, and it's a penalty. Darian Durant has looked very good in this first quarter. 2 excellent drives. He's dominated the time of possession, kept his offense on the field, and most importantly, the one thing he wanted to improve on through the bye is his patience. And we've seen that in this first quarter.
43-yard kick by Renault, and Saskatchewan starts at their 15. And inside, Cates. High steps up close to the 30. Seventh time they've got the ball in the hands of Wes Cates here in this first quarter. And that is the end of the opening quarter. A good one for the home side. First quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Everybody knew that the Saskatchewan Roughriders were facing a great running team in Winnipeg. Well, in that first quarter, they held the Bombers to just 9 yards rushing. Saskatchewan won the first quarter in a lot of ways. They got the fans behind them. 2 real good drives. Right now, Darian Durant completing 90% of his passes.
Yeah, he was one of the big stories of that first quarter. It seemed like everything went wrong for Winnipeg from the opening coin toss, but it is early, and nevertheless, important points when you're going against the wind.
It is early, but Mike Kelly can't get too far behind in this game early on. Because of his style of offense, it's harder to come back when you're a running team. So he's got to keep this close in this quarter and then try and get his running game going. Remember, this is a team that rushed against BC for just shy of 400 yards.
So the Roughriders with the first down at their 30. Back to Cates. Gets a block. And then hauled down. Baron Simpson, another tackle, came into the game tied with Jamal Johnson of Hamilton for the league lead in tackles with 55.
Yeah, his pace has dropped a little bit. He's now on pace for 124, which is still an outstanding season. Record held by Kelvin Tiggle, so he's going to need a couple more to try and beat the CFL record. But a great open field tackle on Wes Cates right there, and he's been playing and practicing on a turf toe for the last 3-4 weeks.
So 2nd and 6. Durant looked backside and directs traffic. That pass intended for Dressler broken up. Keo Craver on the corner with the knockdown.
One of the things I talked to Durant about was when he's talked about his patience and why it was so important against the Bombers. They're a big-time ball hawking secondary. That's the one thing that Mike Kelly changed this year. He revamped the secondary. Javon Johnson leads the CFL with 4 interceptions. They have 19 interceptions. That's why Durant wants to be very careful with the football. He doesn't want to force things because sometimes punting isn't a bad choice.
So Jamie Bormont for his first punt of the game. Javon Johnson, Keo Craver, the 2 corners back as return men. And Johnson finds the handle and is tripped up. Gene Patrick down in a hurry. 51-yard punt. And the return negligible. Well, it's been a tough start for Mike Kelly in the Labor Day Classic, but he certainly embraces what this day is all about.
There's a great passion here, and I love playing in this stadium and you know, listening to the fans. And, you know, one of the radio stations asked me, what do I expect from the East Side? And I said, creativity. Don't tell me I'm bald and I need to be fired. Give me something good. So, you know, this is what it's all about. It's fun. I think it's a unifying weekend for the country, and that's terrific.
You think they're on them in the green section behind them?
Yeah, that East Side, usually pretty creative.
I love the comment. I know they're going to yell. I want them to be creative. Just tell me I'm bald and should be fired.
And next week it'll be Ken Miller's ears that'll be burning in the sold-out Banjo Bowl. A week from today, Michael Bishop quick hitter, and Robbie Bryant has the catch at the 35 and has 5.
Somehow the Bombers have got to get Robbie Bryant going. This time last year, he had 30 catches for 608 yards. This year, he came into this game with basically half that, 14 and 171. They moved him around to try and get him the ball. But Robbie Bryant has really got to get going for this offense to have success.
Second down, the chip. Formation, there was a fumble, and the Roughriders have got it. Tad Cornegay's got the football. Bryant, who was the man who lost the handle.
Well, here's that play they like to run. You're absolutely right. It's that play we drew up on the chalkboard for you with the receiver coming through the formation and the two backs hitting it. This time the handoff from Bishop was in the hip of Bryant. It goes to the turf, and Tad Cornegay with the turnover.
The Bombers did express some concern about how sharp execution might be after the break, and there was a case of it not being very sharp there. First turnover of the game, and Saskatchewan back to work. Durant to the air, has time, and has Rob Bag. That's number 5 at the 18.
Well, they've used him on the sideline a couple of times. This time they change it up and bring him across the middle, and Barron Simpson just overran his pass drop. And that's why Durant waited until Rob Bag cleared the next hole. You're going to see Barron Simpson. He's going to drop right into this area, but he overruns it slightly. Watch Simpson dropping into the hook curl there, and then he overruns the play a little bit, and Rob Bag gets right in behind him in that little window.
15 yards. Stu Ford now in at tailback. Bunch left side. Ford cuts back, and you can hear the fans stewing at Mosaic as one of the hometown favorites has the football.
You just get the feeling when he's on the field wearing that jersey that it's like a kid the first time in a candy store for him. He just goes in there, he plays with everything he's got. He can return kicks for this team. He gives Wes Cates a break, allows him to keep Cates fresh, and he can pick up good yards on his own.
The 11 local products on the Roughriders. Ken Miller talked about that yesterday and the emotion they bring to this game in particular. Second down. And the out and nearly picked off.
Look out over there.
Javon Johnson was poaching, and we saw him last week against the BC Lions with a 75-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Yeah, he's going to play off here, and he's just going to wait and bait Rob Bag on this out route. He's just going to sit on it right at the goal line. He knows he's got a goal line behind him, and then he jumps it. The only thing he forgot to do was hang on to the ball, and you could see Darian Durant started to run back like he was going to have to make a tackle, and Johnson just dropped it.
Fortunately for Durant, not interception number 12. Kanji on. From 21 yards out, Luke Kanji just sneaks it in. And it's a 13-point Saskatchewan lead, 3 off the turnover. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Molson Canadian. This is our beer. Bird's eye view of our truck, the men and women in our truck working the Labor Day weekend, this labor of love. And where would you rather be on Sunday of Labor Day weekend but Mosaic Stadium? Borum with the heavy boot, and that one going to bounce through and will come back to the 25, and another indication of the wind velocity here.
Concern for Mike Kelly, as I mentioned, is the further he gets behind, the harder it is to come back for his team, because in the CFL, which is a passing league, you can see that most of the teams pass the ball way more than they run the ball. Reason for that is you can be efficient, only 3 downs obviously, but you can see that over 1,000 yards more passing for every team except the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They actually rush the ball more than they pass it. It's great in November, and it's great when you're in the close game, but if you slip behind too far, it becomes that much harder to come back. So this is a big 10 minutes, 49 seconds for Mike Kelly here. He's got to close this gap a little bit, get that run game so he can keep that run game in the process.
Whoa. High shotgun snap. Bishop sails it high like he wanted Robbie Bryant. Incomplete. Michael Bishop 4 for 6, 25 yards.
2-2 as a starter. He's now played 4 games for the Bombers, which is exactly what Stephon LaForce played in the first 4. And Mike Kelly feels like he's getting a better control of what Michael Bishop does well and how he learns.
2nd and 10. Here comes pressure. Safety blitz, and Bishop has to throw it away. line of scrimmage, but it's a 2 and out. And so far, the Roughriders have held what was an explosive offense a week ago in check.
Yeah, right off the edge there, you see the left edge. It's James Patrick. He just lines up in it. No disguise from Saskatchewan there. They just lined up across the line of scrimmage and basically dictated that they were sending the house. They did, and Bishop had to throw it away.
And now Renault has to kick for the first time into the wind. He was telling us before the game he really hasn't had a big wind game yet. Has been tutored by Bob Cameron, who was the master. Line drive and a good one, well placed, and it'll bounce out with no return. That's a nice job by Mike Renault out at the 40 with a penalty marker on the play. Tomorrow, TSN brings you live coverage of the annual CFL Labor Day Classic doubleheader Game 1, Battle of Alberta, as the Argonauts take on the Tiger Cats. And in the second game, the Eskimos and the Stampeders, Battle of Alberta, live coverage, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific.
I know McMahon is sold out. I think Ivor Wynn close.
No, it's sold out.
It is sold out. Both sold
tickets
out.
Left. Biggest crowd ever at McMahon for Labor Day. 45-yard punt, 10-yard holding penalty against the Roughriders, but they get that back and more on Weston Drexler's first down catch from Darian Durant.
Now we move into the second quarter. Saskatchewan now starts to go to play action where they fake the ball to West Cates and throw that quick game out there to Weston Drexler because, you know, they believe that their receivers are very good at breaking tackles and getting yards after the catch, and maybe one of the best in the league is Drexler.
Quick hitter again, and Claremont's got a catch. Jason Claremont, the Regina native, playing in his first Labor Day Classic. Close to another first down, brought down by Barron Simpson.
Jason Claremont, his numbers don't jump off the page at you. 14 for 191 coming in, but he brings a lot more to the table than just numbers. And I talked to Weston Drexler about his influence in the locker room. He said, boy, he has taught me how to be a pro, how to show up every day, ready to get ready and prepare and become a better player. And Drexler said, you know, it's great to have veterans that have had success in their career in the locker room.
Stephen Giles comes in after the 9-yard gain, short yardage, and he'll plunge across midfield and have a Rough Rider first down.
Well, it's interesting, too, when you talk about the Saskatchewan receiving corps and how Rob Bagg has stepped up and Chris Getzlaff is playing very well. And you know, there's talk this week and the last couple of weeks about what will happen with Andy Fantus, who is looking to possibly renegotiate his contract, not playing today because of a hamstring injury. But as Rob Bagg continues to get better, Chris Getzlaff gets better, it gives the Riders more options.
As you can see by that graphic, Saskatchewan's offense moving until now, and they get to the quarterback for the first time. Doug Brown has his third sack of the year, number 41 in his All-Canadian career.
Big Doug Brown doesn't have the help of Dorian Smith inside any longer, but he will occasionally get the one-on-ones because that time Donna Ramession on the inside beside him to the right took the double team. If you leave one-on-ones with Doug Brown, you're usually in trouble.
So a loss of 9 back to the Saskatchewan 47. Underneath, catch is made, and Getzlaff still running. Right back across the original line of scrimmage, and is dropped there.
How about the Calgary game for Chris Getzlaff? And over 100 yards receiving in that one. He makes a couple of guys miss in the open field, including Ike Charlton, one of the best tacklers in the league. A couple of moves to move the chains.
I was going to suggest that that gain got them into field goal range. It would be a 59-yarder, which I think is reachable today, but Ken Miller with a 13-point lead wants to pin the Blue Bombers and sends Jamie Borum and the punt team on. And now Borum has to take out maybe a wedge or 9-iron to keep this one in play. looking for the corner. Looks pretty good, but just missed. And it's a single point. That close to a perfect coffin corner kick for Jamie Borum. 14-point Rough Rider lead.
Boy, that Jamie Borum kick was very close. You've heard the term many times that football is a game of inches. Well, about 30 inches short, and that's right on the 1-yard line. And the coaching staff will talk to him about taking a little less. It's okay to be inside the 10. Almost perfect.
There's a handoff to Fred Reed. Twists and spins for 4. Sean Lucas with the Saskatchewan tackle. The Rough Riders said yesterday they were glad to see what Winnipeg did on film against BC a couple weeks ago.
Well, and what they did was they did something that is really unconventional, what you've normally seen. We drew it up for you in the first quarter on the chalkboard, how they run those backs towards the line of scrimmage before the snap of the ball downhill. But the Riders, you're right, have had a chance to look at it.
A lot of guys in the box. Quick hitter, Terrence Edwards into the secondary and dropped at the Rough Rider 50-yard line. Big play to Terrence Edwards. Eddie Davis with the tackle.
If you load up the box, now you're going to leave your secondary in one-on-one situations. This time it's going to be Lance Frazier who tries to come up quickly on Terrence Edwards, but you can see Edwards is still having problems with that turf toe. Once he caught that ball, and it was a big play, you're right, Chris, he couldn't really accelerate away from the tackle.
Just the second first down for the Bombers. And now Reed will try the left side, and he's surrounded. James Patrick off the edge, Tad Cornegay with contain, and Fred Reed not going anywhere.
Well, they continue to bring James Patrick from the safety spot down into the box, it's called, in between the tackles, getting them all lined up. You can see that there are players right across the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all the way across the board. And Patrick on the backside. He's going to be the pursuit man that comes in and cleans up on Fred Reed. But they're loaded up to try and stop the run.
2nd and 13. And John Chick gets home again. His 2nd of the game. 8th of the year. Smothering Rough Rider defense today, Glenn.
Yeah, nothing fancy from John Chick here, and this is a couple of times now he's come with the same move. It's just straight power to push Glenn January back in the pocket. And look how quickly he pushes January, gets him to stand straight up and lose his leverage. Once he does that, he's inside to Michael Bishop. Another big sack from John Chick. Is there two better bookends in the league than Stevie Baggs and John Chick right now? You can make an argument for Bowman and Anwar Stewart in Montreal possibly, but boy, this duo is pretty good.
Now Renault, a good boot into the wind. Armstead, and Osterhaus takes him down just across the 30-yard line with just under 4 minutes remaining here in the first half. John Chick working against Glenn January, who Mike Kelly told us yesterday was his best offensive lineman through the first 8 games.
Yeah, he felt that he and Steve Morley being the best surprise, but he was pretty confident with Glenn January in this matchup between January and John Chick or Stevie Baggs. But boy, Stevie Baggs the player of the month, and John Chick off to a great start this afternoon, and he came in, remember, with 6 sacks on the year in second. The CFL now has 8.
Second consecutive punt return for Saskatchewan that has resulted in a holding penalty. Jarrell Freeman called, and so they mark it back at the Rough Rider 10-yard line. Deepest start for Saskatchewan on the day. Cates right side and nothing doing. There's Lenny Walls moving up from his defensive halfback spot.
Opportunity here for the Bombers if they can get the 2-1 out. Right now they should be able to get pretty good field position, even though the Riders have a good wind behind them if they have to punt, but this is an important down.
Mark Nelson's team second in the league in takeaways with 30. They lead the league with 19 interceptions. And a takeaway here would be timely. 2nd and 10. They screen it to Cates. Neil McKinley misses. And Cates up to the 20. And he's going to be close. Looks like he's about a yard short of the first down.
Good safe play for the Riders, backed up in their own end to try that screen pass, and they got close.
It will likely require a measurement. They give the 3-minute warning to the benches here at Mosaic. Ken Miller with an interesting decision. 3rd, less than a yard at his own 20-yard line, and he sends Stephen Giles in the short yardage unit on.
Nothing is guaranteed in short yardage.
And Giles, good push behind the 2-time All-Canadian center, Jeremy O'Day. And it looks like they should have enough, but late in that game Friday night, Wally Buono went for it, and they did get it by a hair. And a reminder coming up, it's Rona at the half. The Marquee guys were here last year for the Labor Day Classic, sporting watermelon helmets. Not sure if we'll see that today.
Bunch of guys asking for Matt Dunnigan. We'll bring Matt Dunnigan back. Not as many asking for Jock. I don't know why. I'm not sure.
Darian Durant. There's Jerron Walker, another catch, and Lenny Walls got enough cloth to hold on and bring him down.
Well, Weston Dressler's influence on this play is important. He runs a route down the field that basically freezes Lenny Walls for just a split second and allows Jerron Walker to get out. See, as Dressler goes into the middle, you see Walls freeze on him, and then he's got to get out and fly outside to make the tackle on Walker, and that split second cost him a chance to get to him.
Second and 3. They fake that crosser, and it is Durant himself cut down by Hefney, but a first down across the 35-yard line.
It's like the third option to that play, and really Darian Durant has 2 of the options there. He has Dressler coming across the formation. We've seen him give the ball to Dressler there, so he's got that option. Dressler will come in this direction. He's got that option. He's got the option to Wes Cates behind him, or else he can run it himself and allow Wes Cates to be the lead blocker. So changing it up offensively, the Riders.
Another quick hitter, another completion. Darian Durant at 85% in this first half with that connection to Jason Claremont.
You know, one of the progressions here, Chris, when you see an offense running those hitch screens like that, those quick throws, is to pump one and have a double move by the receivers, either Dressler, maybe Claremont, maybe Chris Getzlaff. You fake it to that quick throw and then send them deep. Haven't done it yet, but that would be the progression.
You mentioned the patience he wanted to take into this game. We're seeing it. Studied Anthony Calvillo during the break. Now maybe he does look deep, but he's got Claremont and just sails it high. And maybe the effects of the wind there because he had Claremont open.
Yeah, and this wind, you can't tell on television really, but the wind is a major factor. I mean, at times the flags don't really look like they're going that hard, but trust me, it's tough to manage the wind for both quarterbacks. Even with the strong arm of a Michael Bishop, you have to try and play the wind like you would a golf shot. Try and put it up there and let the wind bring it back down to the receiver. And I think you're right, Chris. That one, the wind just sailed on.
So a missed opportunity there, and Borum has to come on. Roughriders with 36 offensive plays in the first half. The Bombers have had 15. Great Borum boot. Johnson flags it down at the 6. And drops the football. Pile up there. Ball loose. Who's got it? Bombers get it back. A 61-yard punt and some heavy contact. Aaron Wagner comes up with the football, but that was a heavy jolt from Jarrell Freeman.
Yeah, it was Freeman on the special teams. He gets a chance to play a little linebacker as well. He'll play this afternoon, but he put a huge hit. He's going to be the second one. Johnson comes inside. There's number 50. That jogs the ball loose. But I think you're right. Javon Johnson was the guy who ended up fighting back to it and getting it back for the Bombers.
Daniel Francis with first contact. Bombers avoid a critical turnover. And take over with just over a minute to go. Bishop the long out. Brock Ruff's got it. Turns it upfield and tripped up across the 30-yard line by Donovan Alexander.
Sorry, Chris. The Bombers are going to have to start to throw the ball and try and push it down the field a little bit, and I'll show you why. Because look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we got the wrong. That's the wrong set, but we'll get back to it. It's the defensive set for the Saskatchewan Roughriders on that last play.
Blowing it up to stop the run. Bishop now to the near side. Edwards brought down again by Alexander.
Here's the play we're looking for. That was first down. I want to show you all the guys going across the formation. 8 up there to stop the run on first down versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That's the defensive set we want to show you. That's how they're loading it up to stop the run. Bishop's going to have to try and throw it in behind against those one-on-one cover guys in behind that group.
Quick hitter, almost picked off, in and out of the hands of Lance Frazier on the pass intended for Robbie Bryant, and Frazier will do some push-ups for the missed opportunity.
Well, he just jumps it. He feels that Bishop is going to throw on rhythm here. So he's going to go ahead and jump this route. Lines up about 4 or 5 yards deep and then doesn't back up at all. Just comes straight downhill to the football and had the best chance at it.
So a third down with 42 seconds remaining. And again, with the wind at the back of the Roughriders, a chance maybe to add some points before this half is done. Armstead had a pretty good return to the CFL and gets this one across the 45 to the 48-yard line. 37-yard boot, 13 on the return, and 31 seconds for an impressive Darian Durant in this first half to work with.
You know, most importantly, he has been patient, like he mentioned. He's avoided the interception, although Javon Johnson had his hands on one and dropped it. He's a little fortunate there, but other than that, he's really managed this game well and had a tremendous first quarter. I mentioned at the break there that he had completed 90% of his passes in the first.
You would think with this wind, anything across midfield might be field goal range. Durant sets up, and Weston Dressler can't bring in the pass that floated behind him.
Looked like Darian Durant had to change his throwing motion a little bit, and because of that, the ball sailed on him. It looked like he might have had some pressure right in his face. You can see a good push by the front four of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's Don Aramasian and Darian Smith from the outside. So the ball sails because Durant changes his throwing motion. It's a little bit behind Dressler, and he can't come up with it.
Second and 10. And Durant surrounded. And the penalty flag flies. And this one's intercepted. There's a bad decision by Durant, and Lenny Walls has it down inside the 40-yard line.
You know what, Chris? I think it slipped out of his hand. There was a receiver that was about 10 yards deeper, and it looked like the ball slipped out of Durant's hands.
Holding. Saskatchewan, number 65. That penalty's declined. First down, Winnipeg.
So Joel Bell, the holding call, he hooked up Doug Brown to avoid a sack, but Lenny Walls has the 20th Bomber interception of the year.
Well, let's take a look at Durant on the full roll to his right here. He's going to go in that direction. When he does, it looked like he slipped. It looked, you're right, Chris, at the beginning like it was just a bad decision because Lenny Walls was the only guy really around, but it slips out of his hands because just behind you see Dressler was about 10 yards deeper.
Big chance for the Bombers to put a better face on this first half. Bishop trying to get outside. Mike McCullough got there, and it's a break for Darius Bowman, the former Rough Rider, down to the 1-yard line with 1 second to go. And now Mike Kelly's got a decision.
The Riders have used their first half timeout. I don't think that the Bombers have, so they'll call the timeout now just to make sure they settle things down and get a play called here. If they can punch it in from the one with one play left in this half, then they get the convert. attempt, but you can see the mobility now of Bishop, and he strong arms this to Bowman, who fights off the coverage there.
Big play by the former Saskatchewan Roughrider, 39 yards, takes it to the 1 as he eludes Donovan Alexander.
Boy, and timing everything, Chris, because Tad Cornegay there with the hit gets him on the ground.
Saved a touchdown for at least one more play. So it's a 14-point lead, and the Bombers have a chance to cut it in half after the Rolls interception and the big play to Darius Bowman.
Conventional wisdom says quarterback sneak here, but you never know with the Bombers. They may go and hand it off.
Osterhaus tight end, Reed the lone setback, Fred Reed not getting there. John Chick again. Luke Mullender, Chick shut the door, and the first half is over.
Missed opportunity for the Bombers, big time. And Fred Reed had no chance to get started. Luke Mullender, great penetration. John Chick, who is having himself a game, shut the door.
No running in the first half for the Bombers. And the Roughriders lead by 14 at the half in the Labor Day Classic.
Live at the Half is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
Wow, what a huge missed opportunity for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. This game a year ago, the final was a 17-4. It remains 18-4 at the half. We've seen key goal line situations fail all season long, and you guys have said, spread them out more. Did they? Did they spread them out enough?
They ran their regular offense, which we'd love to see. No one blocked Mullender. They just forgot about him.
And it remains 18-4. Dave Randolph, Jock Climbey, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. The Labor Day Classic is intense as always. Now, coming into this one, we're going to talk about the Riders in just a second. But coming in, one of the big stories across the league was Bomber running back Fred Reed after his 260-yard rushing effort against the BC Lions, close to 400 yards along the ground as a team against BC in Vancouver. But it's not working today. Why, Matt?
It's really not. You know, I'm talking to Mike Kelly over the last several weeks. You know, he was concerned with the layoff and the layoff and concerning and affecting his timing offensively. And just like when in the passing game, when you're in the running game, you need to have timing. And when you take in this particular series called the Jet Series, where the backs are so deep, coming downhill between the tackles, if the timing's not there, the defense got penetration that kills the play. And understand this. When you're going downhill, that's huge. And even when you're running sideways across the field, which Winnipeg likes to do with their wide receivers, it affects the timing as well, as we saw in a fumble situation that happened early in the first half. And as you can see, Romby Bryant is certainly a little too far out in front of the ball there. The ball's put on the ground, Saskatchewan takes over. This right here is all affects timing. And Mike Kelly was very concerned about the timing of the layoff. They worked hard when they got back, Jock, from the layoff, but it just wasn't there for them in the first half. All credit goes to the Saskatchewan defense for playing as well as they have, shutting down the run.
I agree that Winnipeg doesn't look quite in sync in the run game, whereas Saskatchewan, you talk about timing. I've been watching their running game and their offense generally and thinking Saskatchewan has got great timing and misdirection and using that to great effect. And right now, they just have Winnipeg completely off balance. Let me show you an example of one of the schemes they're running that involves that misdirection. Getzlaf, they're going to bring him in motion. What they're doing is they're bringing him in through here and out in the flat just in case Durant decides to keep it and run the bootleg. But here, he hands it off to Wes Cates, and just watch the patience. And you talk about timing. The running game is often about timing. He takes his time, he waits for his block before exploding upfield for the first down. I love to see that. And, you know, we saw earlier in the game, here's the same scheme. Again, Getzlaf is coming in motion, but this time the safety is coming straight up the middle, and this scheme actually works to great effect as Wes Cates now, again, with great timing, sidesteps the blitz. Getzlaf gets the block. Hey, that's not supposed to work that way. Getzlaf's supposed to be out into the flat, but it worked out perfectly because they got things timing-wise working very well offensively for Saskatchewan.
Guys, you know why Darian Durant is playing so well right now? It is because he spent the entire off week studying why he did things well and why he did not do things as well. Just a point to all you young kids out there, never be afraid to over-prepare. The negative is sometimes you get the connotation that you're kissing up to the coach. No, you're getting ready to play football. It's not just preparation, it's over-preparation. Then you start playing the way Darian Durant is.
He stayed in Regina despite having a bye, didn't go away. You know who else stayed in Regina too? The Bombers. They usually stay in Moose Jaw to get away from all the hoopla and the goings on, but they stayed in Regina, and hopefully they got their rest because they are trailing at the half.
The traditional prairie dust-up that is the Labor Day Classic. Here's 2nd and 10. Durant throws and runs back.
He put a hellacious hit on Darian Durant.
2nd and 12. Bishop in trouble. John Chick knocks him down and gets the sack.
I think I said the score last year was 19-6. I think I screwed that up earlier. 19-6 was the final. Yeah, a little clarification. And Winnipeg kind of screwed up in the coin toss, eh, Matty?
Oh, big time.
Here are the halftime numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the time of possession right here, folks. It's 20-9 basically for Saskatchewan, and that's not going to get much better. And it's going to really affect Winnipeg's ability to run the football because why? The coin toss at the beginning of the game, Dave. Winnipeg messed that up, and they're going to have third with the win at their back, not the 2nd and 4th.
Let's see what Ken Miller had to say to our Ray Morrison.
Ken, talk about the creativity on offense and maybe Darian Durant's patience.
Well, you know, Darian has been playing really well and completing a lot of balls. That last ball that was intercepted slipped out of his hand, and so it ended up being a poor throw, but it was because it's just slipped out of his hand.
Winnipeg has a creative look with their running game. They do something a little bit unorthodox, and your defense seems to be ready for it. Can you tell me about that?
Well, our defense is just playing great right now. We're 1+ them a little bit, and what a great stop the end of half there. Now we just have to play with intensity when we come out of the locker room. 30 minutes to play.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Ken Miller and his team dodge a big bullet at the end of that second quarter.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League and the Labor Day Classics, proud home of the Grey Cup. 14-point Saskatchewan lead headed to the third quarter. First, Ray Morrison with Bomber coach Mike Kelly.
Mike, talk about maybe your offense and maybe a little bit of a lack of production just with regards to your running game. Their linebackers seem to be there to kind of shut that down.
Well, our timing isn't there, and that was the thing I was afraid of. You know, it's some of the things that we do, and you know, having the week off, that's what we talked about, and it was what scared me, and it's still scaring me right now, so we've got to get that straightened out.
What went into the decision to go for the touchdown at the end of the half as opposed to the field?
Best running team in the league, right? You got 1.5 yards to go. Give the ball to the best back. Didn't work out for us.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, and I like the decision from Mike Kelly to go ahead and try and get that touchdown. They needed the momentum. It backfired on them. They didn't get it, but you got to go and play aggressively. You're 1 yard away, just over 1 yard away. You give it to Fred Reed and hope he can get in the end zone. He didn't.
Now the Bombers need a big third quarter with the wind at their backs as it skips downfield to Javon Johnson. And he'll be tackled by Freeman at the 40-yard line. 393 rushing yards a couple of weeks ago in Vancouver, 9 in the first half today.
Yeah, the Saskatchewan Roughriders defensively are doing a nice job of loading up the line of scrimmage, playing sometimes 8 defenders on the line and trying to force Michael Bishop to throw it in some of the one-on-one matchups. So you're seeing if they can, they're going to lose this game, they're going to lose it to the arm of Michael Bishop, not the running of Fred Reed.
Even yesterday, the Bombers, to a man, said, we need to get the passing to complement that running game. Right now, Marcus Adams trying to chase down Bishop. Ball sails out at the Winnipeg bench, and there's 2 penalty markers on the play. And Bishop and Adams have words.
Bishop was upset. I don't know if it was a horse collar tackle from Marcus Adams. I think that's why Bishop is upset with it. Adams dove for Bishop as he was trying to escape to the right. Not sure if he did the old horse collar. Take a look. Here comes Bishop right at you. Big 51 in pursuit. Did he get his hands on the shoulder?
Holding. Winnipeg number 60. Major foul. Horse collar tackle. Saskatchewan number 51.
It's a net 5 yards and an automatic first down.
So Abi Khan a hold, but they do call the horse collar on Marcus Adams.
Well, you know, he let go immediately, but it looked like it was enough that it pulled the shoulders back of Bishop. And, you know, you could tell by Bishop's reaction when he got up that there was that kind of contact made. So it was quick, but it looked like a good penalty.
That play being called more stringently after the injury to Kenyon Rambo, as Fred Reed has the carry up close to the 50-yard line.
And I don't think the Bombers abandon the run. That's been their bread and butter all year. When they're successful, they have number 32 with the ball in his hands. They have to start to get a little more creative as to how they get him the football. The ball on the outside, on the edges.
Remember, Reed had 150 yards in the second half in Calgary earlier this season. 2nd and 6, two-back offense, and back into the hands of fast Freddie Reed. And his best run of the game down inside the Saskatchewan 45.
Natural hole is created here between Keith Sholigan, who is right here, and then outside in Marcus Adams. So you can see that natural hole that's going to be created on the draw, and that's exactly where Fred Reed hits it. And if you just give him a little crease, that acceleration, he'll be in the secondary in a hurry.
Well, they had 9 in the first half. He rips off 18 there. And a first down at the Saskatchewan 43. Pressure from Baggs, and that pass complete. And a catch for Terrence Edwards.
Michael Bishop, when he came out there, looked like it was designed to fake the ball. You heard Mike Kelly talk about timing. And Bishop basically gave up on the fake to Fred Reed, and that allowed Stevie Baggs to just pursue Bishop immediately. He did get the ball out of there, but he's got to be a little more careful with the details. And if there's a fake involved, then make sure you go through the fake.
2nd and 3. Fake the drop. There's Terrence Edwards, and Omar Morgan with a late hit that draws a flag. So a first down, and they'll tack on more.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. Looked like Edwards was right along that sideline, and this is just the natural progression for Omar Morgan.
That's Saskatchewan number 1. About half the distance of the goal from the end of the play. Automatic first down.
We're going to hear about it here from the Rider faithful, but I looked at this as pretty close on the sideline. Now, was Terrence Edwards still in bounds when the contact was made? That's close, but how do you stop the corner? Omar Morgan in that case, he's coming downhill and he wants to get Edwards out of bounds.
Yesterday at their walkthrough, every pass seemed to be to Aaron Hargraves. And I kid with Mike Kelly, is Hargraves going to be a weapon? He said no, he runs all of Edwards' plays in practice. There's a pass knocked down as Bishop couldn't get it past the line, and Mike McCullough, the middle linebacker, got his hand on it. But that was an indication from yesterday of how important Terrence Edwards should be, although he hasn't been able to practice because of the turf toe.
Yeah, and then you worried about the timing. A big play there by McCullough to put him in 2nd and long, and that's Terrence Edwards' time. He has been the best receiver. 100-yard game versus Toronto, and a win for the Bombers there. Who does Bishop lean on now?
7th play of the drive. Trying to cut this lead in half. 2nd and 10. Pressure off the edge. Open man. And a shoe top catch by Bowman, but he'll be short of the first down as Omar Morgan stepped up and limits the gain to 5.
I think it was Tad Cornegay that came off the edge, and he's the guy who's going to cause the problems for Bishop, because if he gets outside of Cornegay, he's got a lot of time and an option to either run or pass. Cornegay's up at the top here. He's coming around the corner, and watch the problems that he'll cause now for Michael Bishop as he comes out blind. Now he turns around. Bishop has to rush it because 24 is right there. He gets outside there, and he puts the Rider defense in a real bind.
A chip shot from Cerna. He puts it through, and it's now an 11-point advantage for the Roughriders. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. So 3:25 into this third quarter, And it's now time for us to update the stat Saskatchewan fans don't want to hear. It's now 81-7 for the opposition against the Roughriders in the third quarter. So if Winnipeg's going to get back into it,
now's the time, and they have the wind at their back. It's just 7 points in 8 games in the third quarter for the Riders. They want to exercise that demon.
Here comes Jason Armstead. And up near the 30-yard line, he's taken down. Joe Lobendon there. Darian Durant going back to work, and so is Ray Morrison.
You know, Chris, this wind is much more sporadic than it was earlier. At the start of the game, it was constant going from right to left, but now it dies down at times. So come to the fourth quarter, it might not be that much of a factor as perhaps they thought it was going to be at the beginning of this game. So maybe both teams will be able to have a nice mix of run and pass going both ways here for the final 2 quarters.
That'll be good news for the Bombers. Right now, the Roughriders on offense, starting at their 30. Durant runs out of time, and they get to the quarterback. Gavin Walls, Dorian Smith. The ends converge.
Little disguise here for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're going to put Barron Simpson up in the line of scrimmage, and then they will drop him out. There's Simpson there. He kind of lines up, then he spies and drops into coverage. That holds or causes Darian Durant to hold the ball for a second. He has to look to his second and third progression in the passing game, and he can't get there because of the sack by Walls.
Gavin Walls with his third of the year. Here's Durant looking downfield for Dressler. It is intercepted. Great play. Joe Lobendon drops the ball. Oh, they've got it again. They've ruled the play dead as Joe Lobendon has the second interception of the game and 21st of the year for that ravenous Winnipeg defense.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers have wanted to get Sadiq Shabazz and Joe Lobendon on the field at the same time. The way they've been able to do that is to play Shabazz at safety and Lobendon up in the linebacking core. But this time, they're going to drop Joe Lobendon, who is a linebacker at 233 pounds, back to free safety, and he plays it like a defensive back. Now, did he catch the ball is I think what the Saskatchewan Roughriders are wondering, because he has to maintain that possession when he hits the ground. And, of course, you can't use the ground to help you catch the ball.
For a guy known for his Richter scale hits, that's a pretty deft athletic play, and there it is, that ball on the ground.
And right now, Ken Miller, I know they were hesitating because Miller was trying to get word from up above as to whether or not that was a legal catch.
Now he's got word from the sidelines, and Ken Miller has just dropped the challenge flag after that last replay was probably seen upstairs.
Yeah, and you know, he got a bit of a break there, Ken Miller, in that there seemed to be some discussions on the field by the officials that bought him a little more time and allowed his spotters upstairs to take another look at this, because, you know, initially it looked like a pretty clean catch by Joe Lobendon, but you can't use the ground to help you freeze the football. And it looks like he has it there, but how much of the ball hits the ground and then bounces into his chest? You can't use the ground. I think this may be overturned.
Saskatchewan is challenging the ruling of a catch. We'll review the play.
You can see from that angle, you can see the tip of the ball right there. Now, does that touch the ground? Because if it does, now essentially Joe Lobendon is using the ground to push the ball back into his arms, which you can't do. I would be surprised if this is not overturned. Now, that was second down, correct?
So I was going to say, this in field position terms, with Saskatchewan going against the wind and facing a third down, is not a critical call. They may lose 10 or 15 yards in the exchange if it is overturned.
It depends on the kicking game, obviously, but yeah, you're right. There's not a huge difference here, although there is a momentum issue as well. When Ken Miller throws that challenge flag now, he stops the momentum of a turnover and the sudden change, and maybe he can, even if he has to punt it away, allow his defense a chance to get ready and get geared up. So, you know, I like the challenge. You got to take a look at it.
The review process has been much quicker this year with the command center in Toronto. Not putting any heat on Jake Ireland, but this one taking a little longer than we've seen this year. And maybe after what happened Friday night, we're going to have to be patient.
Unfortunate mistake by the officials on Friday in Montreal and BC.
Give us a chance to congratulate Wally Bono at win number 231.
After review, it in fact was an incomplete pass. It's third down. Saskatchewan at the 21.5. Third down.
Yeah. You could tell that the ball did touch the turf, and Joe Lobendon used the field to assist him in the catch, and so therefore it's incomplete. Now, Riders will have to punt the football. We'll see what happens in the kicking game, but it does take away a little of the wind and the sails when you think about the sudden change and the turnover and the momentum that can give you.
Just for a point of reference, had the interception stood, it would have been Bomber football at the Saskatchewan 48. So we'll find out how much of a difference. In fact, it could turn out to be a better call for the Bombers. We'll see. Javon Johnson and Keo Craver standing close to midfield awaiting the punt.
The officials will take an extra second. When a play like this happens in a review, they have to reset the ball, make sure that is accurate and it's back to the original line of scrimmage before they run this third down play.
Reset the ball and the yardsticks, which had moved on the apparent turnover. I think when all is said and done, Winnipeg's going to be glad that that interception was overturned, but we'll see. Jamie Borum might change our minds. Using as much of the clock against the wind. Short kick. Look at this. Uh-oh. Craver drops it. There's the other side of the coin. And who's got it? The battle continues in the pile.
Anything can happen once you put the special teams on the field, and how good of a challenge would this be for Ken Miller if the Riders get this fumble?
That challenge looks awfully good right now. Whose ball is it? Every rider on the field trying to sway the officials who continue to conference. And it is Saskatchewan football. They lose the challenge, then they lose the football. It's been that kind of day for Winnipeg.
Remember, Chris, also the new rule this year, when you're successful in your challenges, you'll get an extra one. So Ken Miller wins the challenge, puts his teams on the field and the punt team, and then get the fumble recovery.
And Jarrell Freeman looks like he was the man who came up with the ball, and he's been a gunner on teams for Saskatchewan all day. So the Roughriders reload at their own 54. Play fake to Cates, and now they dump it off to Cates. And West Cates still going. At the 35 by Keo Craver. But that only pumps this throng up.
Jack Climby talked about misdirection for the Saskatchewan offense at halftime. This is a little example of it. There's Wes Cates there. He has just taken the play fake from Darian Durant. Then he goes into the line, breaks back out to the right. Little misdirection. That confuses the Winnipeg defense just long enough to get Cates into the secondary.
Claremont helps bring him for 20 yards and a first down. Pressure. Durant throws that football away. As Big Tug Brown bearing down again.
Some kind of year for the SFU grad. And congratulations to SFU, who won game one of the CIS season against the crosstown rival UBC Thunderbirds. I had a little discussion with Doug Brown about that.
Bobby Kahn.
Yep.
A Klansman. And we want to wish teams across the country, the CIS, well underway now. More on that in a moment. 2nd and 10. Durant looks for Dressler! And he just missed bringing it in. Had a step on Jonathan Hefney.
Well, it's straight one-on-one. Hefney's trying to stay inside position, which he does. He allows Dressler that outside run. Now the throw has to be perfect, and really, folks, it is, because that's the only place Durant could put it, and Weston Dressler just can't come up with a kick. Now, he usually makes that one. It was a tough one. That was played perfectly by both players. Jonathan Hefney kept him outside, made it a perfect throw, and it was just out of the reach of Dressler's hand.
So a sign that the wind is still a big enough factor that they don't try the 43-yard field goal, and Borum will try and pin the Bombers. Craver again back with Javon Johnson. James Johnson, the former Rough Rider, not on the field, and little running kick there by Borum. And they're surrounded at the 15-yard line. So a left-footed effort for Jamie Borum.
Like Jamie Borum wanted to keep the Winnipeg Blue Bombers honest, and he takes a look and see if he cannot run for a first down there when he sees it closed down. Real athletic play to kick it with his left foot as he was moving. He's a right-footed kicker.
So Michael Bishop and the Bombers start at their own 15 midway through this third quarter. And straight ahead, Fred Reed up to the 24. Keith Shulligan, the tackle.
Off the top of the show, Chris, you mentioned that Michael Bishop wearing a Saskatchewan jersey this time last year in the Labor Day Classic. He led the Riders to a win that day. But in that game, he threw for 107 yards and completed just 42% of the pass. And you get the sense that for the Bombers to win here this afternoon, he's going to have to amp up those passing numbers.
He needs the second half like he had in the Banjo Bowl when he ended up passing for 370 and 3 touchdowns. He's got Brock Ralph, who shakes the tackle from Omar Morgan and then gets pushed out up at the 43-yard line.
Kelly told me he's been pleasantly surprised by Brock Ralph's production and the fact that he's been able to stay healthy and stay on the field. That's been one of the knocks against Ralph, is that he gets nicked up and he's spent a lot of the time in the tub. And Mike Kelly says, you know, we don't ask too much of Brock Ralph, but he has performed when we've asked him to go out and make a catch for us.
Up at the 43, Ralph providing a first down. Couple of reads aren't there, and now over the middle he's got an open man. Adarius Bowman again! Still going! Inside the 30, the former Rough Rider has his second big play of the game.
And it starts because of Michael Bishop's arm strength, and he just threads the needle between a real small window to get the ball to Adarius Bowman, and then Bowman does the rest afterwards. There's Michael Bishop coming out, and watch how he delivers this pass, how small the window really is. He gets outside, Bowman's coming in, he throws across his body, there's a defender on either side of him, Tad Cornegay and Lance Frazier. He threads the needle between the two of them, and then Bowman takes it around the corner.
50 yards for the former Rider, who spent 9 games on the DL last year.
There's that deep set by the running backs.
Third straight trip to the red zone. Stopped to the goal line stand late in the first half. 3 the last time in. Fred Reed. And still nothing doing. Another big defensive play by Mike McCullough, starting at middle linebacker in the absence of Ray Williams.
You know, Mike McCullough comes in and he's in his third start for Ray Williams. Kim Miller talks about him as a real cerebral type player, a guy who understands formations, is always in the right place at the right time, can make all the checks on the field and get everybody lined up straight. That's a big play in the running game.
He had 13 starts at middle linebacker in 2006. Saskatchewan led the league in rush defense with him in the middle. Second down, Bishop to the end zone. Touchdown! What a catch! Adarius Bowman fighting off Eddie Davis. And we've got ourselves a game.
Eddie Davis cannot believe it. That's exactly what he did, Chris, as he fought off the coverage of Eddie Davis in the middle, and Bowman comes up big again. Sometimes you just want your players to win the one-on-one battles. A little switch here by the defensive backs as they're going to allow Omar Morgan to take the inside receiver, Terrence Edwards. And they drop that one off to Eddie Davis. What a catch.
First time any Bomber other than Terrence Edwards has scored a touchdown through the air. Guy with the tag of enormous potential, unrealized yet, but we're seeing glimpses of it here. Darius Bowman, 4 catches, 112 yards, and a huge touchdown for the Bombers.
Yeah, he's got that 100-yard game. He had 195 coming in, so he's closing in on that mark. The first 8 games of the season.
There's Aaron Wagner on the short kickoff up across the 40-yard line. Let's take another look at the Bowman touchdown.
Well, I mentioned the switch in the secondary, so let me explain that. There is Omar Morgan and Eddie Davis right here. Bowman's on the outside, and watch how they'll switch. Now, Terrence Edwards starts inside, goes outside. Now, right there is where they make the switch. Omar Morgan picks up the inside guy, and Eddie Davis is in absolute perfect position as they come across the middle. He can't cover that any better, and Darius Bowman wins the battle when the ball arrives.
Doesn't hurt when you're 6'4", 224, and Davis at 5'10", 186. Wes Cates back to work, and Doug Brown will haul him down, toss him forward to the 45, and Cates has 4. So now the Bomber defense has a chance to keep this crowd silenced at Mosaic.
Well, it's that third quarter jinx that they continue to go through here in Saskatchewan, and you're absolutely right. A sold-out Mosaic Stadium is kind of sitting on their hands and going, uh-oh. Survive the third quarter has sort of been the theme for this team. 7 points in 8 games.
Let a 22-point lead against Edmonton get away earlier this year. Second down and 6. Crosser, Cates, first down, cross midfield. Wrestled down by Walls. 13 for Wes Cates.
Nice little pick play there. They'll use Chris Getzlaff to come across from the left side of the formation. Gates from the right. And then it's tough on the linebackers to decide which one to pick up. Getzlaff is right in the middle. You see Getzlaff sits down in the middle of the picture, and Gates cuts underneath that. And it's tough for Joe Lobendon to figure out which guy the ball is going to arrive to, and it ended up in Cates' hands.
Back to Cates. Nothing inside. There's Barron Simpson chalking up another tackle. And Simpson's been more active today after just 5 tackles in the last 2 games for a guy who had 14 in 1 game against the Argos earlier this year.
Now, Barron Simpson didn't say anything to me, but I've been talking to some of the people that watch practice all week long in Winnipeg. There's a few turf toes on that team. Terrence Edwards is one. He's the only guy practicing with it.
Second and 9, and that pass caught. As Claremont's got another grab, and he is close to a first down.
And Darian Durant just throws Jason Claremont open here to lead him into the middle. Because again, tight coverage, and you're seeing on the Labor Day weekend, you have to work for every inch. Darius Bowman had to work for his touchdown, and that time Jason Claremont had to work for that first down. If he gets it, they're going to take a look.
And it will be third down. Looked like he had the nose of the football there.
Well, you know what? He's taking another look at it. And he's saying first down.
Looked like he got the nose of the football.
Well, I think that it was the angle that the first down marker there, they were holding it on a slight angle. And they straightened it up and went, oh yeah, it is. That's how close it was.
So Darian Durant at 71.4%, came in at 57% on the season. Ken Miller said that's got to improve. And he has been much sharper percentage-wise today. First down, fake to Cates, look back to Cates, and now Rob Bag open, and he's brought down quickly. There's Sadiq Shabazz moving up and limits the gain.
Well, I mentioned SFU, so I'm going to allow you to take a second and talk about Rob Bag.
Well, I was going to just finish the thought on the CIS underway, and it was a big weekend in Saskatchewan. The Huskies with an overtime win over Calgary, and Mark Mueller lit it up for the University of Regina, their first win in 8 years over Manitoba here at Mosaic on Friday night. So good luck to the CIS and their new season just underway. Quarterback draw, Durant not going anywhere. Slid underneath the tackle of Doug Brown and did get down to the 35, but he'll still be a yard and a half, 2 yards short.
You know, you just have to love the want-to factor from Darian Durant. I mean, Doug Brown's playing great in the middle, and he has Durant wrapped up. Durant loses his hat and continues to fight for extra yards, gets hit without his helmet on. His helmet's out there, and look at him continue to go forward. Gavin Walls loses his helmet. These guys want to win bad, especially on this afternoon in the regular season.
Now, they were in this range earlier. Borum came on to punt, and now it's Kanji and the field goal team to try a 42-yarder against the wind. And as Ray Morrison's reported, it's kind of gusting back and forth, and at times not a huge factor. You have to size it up here from 42 yards out for Kanji. Rob Bag holding. And Kanji has it up, but pushed it left. And Javon Johnson bringing it out. Gets by Stevie Beggs. Look out! Big return for Javon Johnson up across the 40-yard line. 18-14 Riders with the lead. Stay tuned to TSN immediately following this game for the NASCAR Sprint Cup action as the track heats up at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Pep Boys Auto 500. Live coverage 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. A lot of football to be played yet, though. Bombers have cut the lead to 4 and got the football here. Jet formation, Rock trying to get outside, and he can't turn the corner. In pursuit, Sean Lucas and Eddie Davis.
This is the part of that play that they'll run once, maybe twice in a game, and Brock Ralph has a pretty good average when he does get the ball. He gets almost 9 yards every time he carries it. I think he'd be held a little short of that here. And here comes the next play on the whiteboards.
What is it, 47 or 3 or
47-3 or
473? 347? Second and 10, second and 11. Bishop with a flag down, picked off, Tad Cornegay. And January will bring him down inside the 15 again. There is a penalty marker on the play.
See what this penalty is. This is a case, though, of Michael Bishop relying on his arm strength. The offside against Winnipeg and declined by Saskatchewan.
Offside. Winnipeg number 80. That penalty's declined. First down.
Offside by Brock Ralph, and you see Michael Bishop as he tries to throw this slant route here, and really has no business throwing it in there because Tad Cornegay drops underneath it, but he's going to try and throw it through Cornegay, relying on his arm strength, and that is really where Michael Bishop gets in trouble. He has such a strong arm, and sometimes it's a detriment. He thinks he can beat coverage with his arm, and that time Tad Cornegay said, no thanks, I'm taking it the other way.
First of the year for Cornegay, first in 3 games for the Roughriders. Here's Wes Cates. Oh, a huge jolt there. There's another seismic tackle from Joe Lobendon.
Ask Mike Kelly what the strength of his team was. He said our front 7, without hesitation. And, you know, the more running backs we talk to, the more say that Joe Lobendon, he packs a punch when he comes to the line of scrimmage, and that was maybe the best example. Wes Cates is not small. He's 220 pounds. And he just turned, Lobendon just turned him back.
So second and 10. Durant to Dressler. Touchdown.
How did he catch that?
Portuguese interception. He cheers as Weston Dressler's done it again.
Tremendous concentration by Weston Dressler because the umpire was in the throwing lane. I don't know how he even sees this football. Dressler's coming across from the right to the left, and watch, the umpire is going to be right in the throwing lane there. And how does Dressler even see that ball?
Unreal. Third touchdown catch of the season. Big points for the Roughriders. Their first third-quarter touchdown of the season. Extra point from Kanji on the final play of the third quarter as the Riders expand their lead to 11.
Shop at Safeway. Swipe your club card and play Safeway $1 Million Touchdown to win. You could win the Dirt Devil Designer Series Combo, the new shape of clean. Includes the stylish cone cordless handheld vac and the lightweight cordless broom. Get in the game at Safeway.
Gibson's finest Canadian whiskey. So smooth it begs the question to mix or not to mix. What happens next is up to you. Gibson's finest. Your whiskey, your way.
It is the most isolated landmass on the planet. Nature never intended for you to survive here. But this Friday...
Oh my God.
Nature...
What the hell happened here?
...is not the only thing...
We hit something big.
...to fear.
This wasn't an accident.
I want to evac the base.
We're not going to make it.
Down starts this Friday.
In the war between fun and practicality, there are victims and there are victors. To the victor go the spoils. All new, all that. Mazda 3.
Our Sack Tally brought to you by Purolator, where business is going. Got a good race, and the Roughriders have moved out in front.
Well, thanks to John Chick, who's got a couple in that first half. The Roughriders coming into this game were 14 sacks better than this time last year.
So Saskatchewan with the lead and the football at their own 35-yard line. And West Keats the carry, and not much there up the middle. There's Donnie O, the University of Manitoba product, with another tackle.
And there's an interesting look.
Is this a model of the new stadium?
Well,
or the old?
Well, they're just got. I think this is Mosaic. I think
there you go.
There's a model of Mosaic Stadium. I'm guessing that he didn't throw that together an hour before game time. I think that took a little time and effort to put together that cap.
They've been preparing since this thing was sold out in June for this game. Durant's got Dressler! And he just missed him. Once again, wind at his back. He's had an open man deep a couple of times and missed by a stride.
Well, you can really see the adjustments that Darian Durant, though, has been making in his game. I mean, Weston Dressler is in here, and he's going to take off straight down the seam. Darian Durant, through that break, said that at times he was aiming the ball a little bit and trying to caress the ball in on the deep throw and put maybe too much air under it. And I've seen him miss a couple of times now with the wind at his back when he's trying to throw it more on a line. So he's continuing to work out the kinks on that deep ball, and pretty soon he'll find it.
Javon Johnson with a return up to the 37. And a reminder that you can qualify for the Wendy's Kick for $1 Million. And there are the prizes that you can go after. You can upsize your Wendy's combo and get a game card to get bonus entries. Enter at tsn.ca/Wendy's.
Michael Bishop's got to give his defense a bit of a rest here. There's lots of time in the football game, but he needs a couple of first downs at the very least. He's going to burn the timeout.
Didn't like what he saw. Gives me a chance to make one clarification, Glenn. I said that the Riders had only one third-quarter touchdown. With Dressler's catch, it is now 2 on the year, and he's had both of them. And it's a big touchdown in this game that's made it an 11-point deficit for Mike Kelly's crew.
Yeah, and I mentioned Bishop in a few first downs here because 11:22 is lots of time. And you talk about the 11 points. That's not an insurmountable lead. But when you consider the first half, the Riders dominated the time of possession 20 minutes to 9:52. They basically doubled it. And that wears on the defense in the fourth quarter. So now if Bishop can keep his defense on the sideline for a couple of series here, a couple of first downs, they still have time to get that defense out there, still have time to come back.
Wonder how big burning that timeout will be late in the game. Flags are flying as Bishop on a roll gets it to Brock Ralph, who has the catch in front of Donovan Alexander crossing midfield. Let's see if this is coming back.
They try to load up John Chick's side, and they're going to bring John Osterhaus in at tight end to double-team Chick. I'm not sure.
It is against Saskatchewan, and the 19-yard gain will stand.
Yeah, they'll decline that and take the play. But they're now starting to double-team on John Chick.
Offside, Saskatchewan number 24. That penalty's declined. First down.
So Cornegay, who was blitzing on the play, jumped the gun.
Let me just show you what I'm talking about as John Chick now with his great first half. There's Chick there, and watch what they're doing now. They've got the left tackle, and they've got Osterhaus, Steve Morley and Osterhaus now. They're going to help out on Chick, get a couple of guys on him to try and get Michael Bishop on the corner.
First down, Roughrider 54. Bishop from the pocket, receiver fouled, it's intercepted. Omar Morgan's got his third of the year. Second time Bishop scored a pick in the second half. The veteran Omar Morgan's got it, and the fans here at Mosaic are celebrating that. Veteran Omar Morgan has his third of the year. He had a pair in the opener, but a big one here.
Yeah, second mistake by Bishop as he's trying to hit Brock Ralph. He does fall in the play, but the accuracy is off anyway. I don't think that Brock Ralph gets there. And when the quarterback throws an interception, defenders are told to block the quarterback, and the quarterback's going to take some abuse once he throws that pick.
So 2 interceptions on the day and 6 for the season.
He's going to throw.
Weston Dressler loads it up downfield and throws it away.
You could tell right away, Chris, as Weston Dressler started to get some depth as he came across there, that he was trying to get himself onside to throw the ball down the field. And Darian Durant goes off the opposite direction. He becomes an intended target, and he was wide open, but you could tell he gets back, he gets some more depth, looking to throw. Doesn't see anybody open, so he throws it out of bounds. Little trick play there from Saskatchewan.
First time we've seen that this year for the Roughriders. Jason Armstead a couple of years ago threw a touchdown pass to Kerry Joseph. Like Dorian Smith was offside. Dressler up to bring it down. Hefney with the hit, close to a first down. Forward progress near the first down stick.
I wasn't sure if it was offside Dorian Smith or if he was drawn offside. It will be against Winnipeg and Dorian Smith. Moves outside to his natural position in this game this afternoon. He's right here. And you can see he just gets into that neutral zone before the snap of the ball, working against Gene Makowski.
And they're just checking to see if Dressler had enough for the first
Offside.
down.
Winnipeg number 90. Penalties decline. It's first down.
And when they confirmed he did, the Riders opted to decline the penalty.
Dorian Smith started the season inside the interior of the defensive line, and his natural position is defensive end, so he's more comfortable actually outside. We haven't really talked about him much, and that's because he's playing against a perennial all-star, Gene Makowski.
Makowski kicking outside with the injury to Bobby Harris. And here's Keats straight ahead. Joe Lobendon, you heard the pads pop again with Lobendon in the middle of the action.
15-year veteran. It's his 242nd game. And Dorian Smith started the season on fire with 5 sacks, and Mike Kelly really had high hopes that he would go outside and really do some damage this afternoon. But, boy, how good is it to have a veteran like that where you can play pretty much anywhere on the line of scrimmage, and he doesn't drop off in his play at all.
You know, we hear so many coaches say the guy can play the left side, but he just can't move to the right side of the line, or vice versa. You can play him at left guard, left tackle, right tackle. Usually goes to the strong side, and that's why he's one of the best in the business. Flag, Keats, and he's brought down again. Lobendon, back-to-back tackles for Lobendon.
Or the Bombers offside again.
Looks like they were.
Offside. Winnipeg number 27. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Lenny Walls, defensive halfback, offside that time.
They talked about that time of possession in the first half, and I'm just watching the Bomber huddle on defense. A lot of guys with their hands on their hips. A lot of guys slow to get to the line. They're trying to lean on it, starting to make some mistakes, being offside twice.
1st and 10. Durant looking to the corner, and Dressler well covered on the play.
And you can see this is in the 4th quarter. They start getting pretty slow back to that huddle. And the first thing that drops off is your concentration when you're fatigued. I think it was Bear Bryant who said that fatigue makes cowards of the best of men. And it's that part of the game. There's the time of possession, and the Bombers have got a lot of their time of possession in the 3rd quarter. The first half was dominated by Saskatchewan. You see the hands on the hips. That's a sure sign the defense is tiring.
2nd and 10 from the Bomber 42. Rush on, they screen it. Cates trying to get outside, and does. First down, Wes Cates, right near the 20.
And Chris, the second thing that falls off when you fatigue is your tackling. Wes Cates gets outside. He's one-on-one on Keo Craver. Now this is a tough tackle to make. There's a lot of field around him on either side. Little screen pass, pretty athletic catch in the first place, but there's the missed tackle by Craver. Wes Cates outside. Big game.
20 yards for Cates. Been a good day for Wes Cates. Catching the ball and running. And for the Riders to be successful this season, this is the kind of day they need from Wes Cates. Stu Ford goes in now. Play action fake. Dressler, the end zone, and almost picked off. Hefty diving and injured on the play.
Yeah, he went down hard. I wasn't sure if Javon Johnson or Jonathan Hefty were going to get there first. It's really the first time that Darian Durant in this game this afternoon has been a little impatient. He had Jerron Walker open. Dressler really wasn't. See, Hefty might have landed on the football. I think he did. Probably knocked the wind out of him when he went down on the ball there.
Hefty with interceptions in consecutive games coming into this Labor Day Classic. And still getting attention. Work on Jonathan Hefty gives us a chance to remind you that exclusive coverage of the 2009 U.S. Open continues tonight on TSN2 as we bring you action from center court at Flushing Meadows. Live coverage 7 Eastern and 4 Pacific. Rider fans hoping this lead stands up for another 7:42 and that they can move into a share of first place in the West with the Edmonton Eskimos pending tomorrow's Eskimo Stampeder reunion at McMahon. 2nd and 10. Sadiq Shabazz out on the corner as Durant looks to Walker. Can't make the play. Tucked in behind the pylon and couldn't hold on.
Safe throw by Darian Durant, though, to throw it to that sideline to where only Walker had a chance at it. It was going to be a tough catch. He came back to the ball well. Just couldn't hang on. That's why Ken Miller gave Darian Durant the pat on the head. He said, that's a good throw because that's a safe throw. Throw it out there. If our guy makes a great catch, then it's perfect. If not, there's no danger of an interception. That's why Ken Miller was saying to Darian Durant.
Big block by Stu Ford to help extend the play. And now Luka Kanji trying to make it a 2-touchdown Rough Rider lead. From the 29. And Kanji drills that. 28-14. 7 minutes left in the Labor Day Classic in Regina. Back at Mosaic, let's check in with Ray Morrison.
Jason Claremont, the inside receiver for the Riders, done for the day with what the bench is describing as a deep thigh contusion of the left leg. That's ice underneath his football pants, so he's finished for the day.
See Andy Fantuz on the bench. Hamstring keeps him out again today. They're expecting he could be back next week for the Banjo Bowl in Winnipeg as that one bounces into the end zone, but it's not going to reach the back line. And Johnson's going to put down a knee and make it a 15-point Rough Rider lead.
Well, you know, a big point when you think about it, because now Bishop needs 3 big plays. He needs the 2 for the 2 majors and then a 2-point convert.
You surprised with so many deep kickoffs that the return men aren't standing in the end zone?
Yeah, they should be standing there and also hoping and trying to allow the ball to go through without being touched. So then it's not a point.
Ken Miller told us yesterday there were a couple of reasons why Michael Bishop did not remain a Rough Rider. Inconsistency, ball security, decision-making. We've seen evidence of that today, but we also know that he can make things happen in a hurry. And now he has to generate a couple of touchdown drives in the final 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, Miller said to me that if Michael Bishop was a poker player, he'd always be all in. And he's kind of hit and miss that way. And, you know, Mike Kelly understands that. Kelly says if you can't live with that with Michael Bishop, then you really can't have him as your starting quarterback. So he's willing to live with it.
2nd and a pair. And as Fred Reed tagged Cormigay, he's had quite an afternoon, and he stops Reed at the line of scrimmage and short of the first down.
Yeah, and I wonder, Chris, there's a decision here to be made by Mike Kelly. I know there's lots of time. There's just under 6 minutes. Cormigay's off the edge here, and he's just going to go, does not worry about any bootleg responsibilities. He comes down low, reads the play, and is right there to make the tackle on Fred Reed. And Mike Kelly looks at the clock and says he'll put his defense out there one more time.
Reed may have lost a half yard. Gary Echeverry's team at times this season has looked vulnerable against the run, but certainly not today. They've made a statement, surrendering only 38 rushing yards to Winnipeg.
I wonder how tempted Mike Kelly was to go for it here on 3rd and 1.
Mike Renault faked as if he was going to run. Told me that might happen today, but does unload downfield. And Evanson Bernard with the tackle. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
First down.
Mike Kelly wanted imagination from the east side. There's certainly imagination in the headgear that the crowd has here.
No yards, 5-yard penalty against Joe Lobendon. Mike Kelly not agreeing with the call, but he has argued calls a little more vociferously than that this season. His defense has to come up with a big play now.
While they do that, I'm going to look that word up.
Straight ahead Cates, and Gavin Walls will hog tie him.
It's been a pretty courageous effort. You know, I think Darian Durant's managed this game and played quite well. Pretty courageous effort by the Bombers. They were on the field a ton here this afternoon. It's been hot. It started over 30 degrees here in Mosaic Stadium. And they're continuing to battle. Now they've got to try and get off the field here on this down because the clock becomes a major issue.
Bombers have yet to win 2 straight games this season. In danger of falling to 3-6. Here comes pressure. Charlton is picked up. Dressler can't hold on with Lenny Walls in the neighborhood. So the Bombers do get the 2-and-out they were looking for.
Well, they reach down one more time. I mean, that's the strength of this team. And Ken Miller is going to have to kick the ball away now, though, with the wind at his back. Jamie Borum has been pounding the football, both on kickoffs and on punts. You almost think the Bombers might want to load it up and try and go for a block kick here.
Bombers yet to have a block on the season. But Saskatchewan's had 4 blocked. On some time off the clock, they'll play the return. Craver. And Craver's got something up across the 40, but there is a penalty marker on the play. The 2 worst kick return teams in the league. Statistically, looks like Armstead's given Saskatchewan a boost. But the Bombers without James Johnson.
Holding. Winnipeg number 42 while the ball was in the air. 10-yard penalty for where it was caught. First down.
Well, they get Armstead in the lineup, and of course Mike Kelly going through a week of some interesting discussions in the media, and interesting discussions with Pac-Man Jones. And
you were in the locker room. Would that play as a distraction, or does anybody in the locker room care?
You know, I think as a professional, you have to maintain your focus no matter what's going on around you. But having said that, you know, there was tons of discussion, and the media is asking you every day, and every player has to respond to whether it's a good or a bad thing. And folks, Pac-Man Jones in the CFL is a bad thing. They changed their mind, and good for them.
Early movement there as the left tackle Steve Morley pulling on the play.
First down.
And the penalty starting to add up here for the Bombers in the second half, coming off their 3 most penalized games in a row. So Winnipeg was a disciplined team, but of late they've taken a lot of penalties. Double-digit penalty flags in each of the last 3 games. Drop play, and Reed with another marker on the play. Sean Lucas has the tackle, and a little dust-up going on here. Stevie Baggs and Abi Khan were going at it.
Boy, were they ever. Stevie Baggs moved around in the formation, was actually lined up over the center Abi Khan. And they got into a swinging match that lasted the entire length of the play.
Roughriders were offside.
You know, Chris, when the defensive line is having success and getting a good push and a good jump, that'll create penalties offensively, because now those tackles are a little antsy getting out of their stance, and they're a little worried about the speed and the power of that D-line. And
offside. Saskatchewan number 51. That's a 5-yard penalty. We'll repeat. First down.
Marcus Adams offside.
So when you talk about penalties to Steve Morley, Glenn January, that last one going against Saskatchewan, but I mentioned the penalties for the Bombers.
Those totals not serious today, though.
But it's late in the game, and they're costly. This is a team that needs to find a way to come back and needs 2 scores and a 2-point convert. They can't afford any penalties.
The first down over, 1st and 10. Bishop dumps it off. And away goes Terrence Edwards with a burst and some open field. James Patrick trying to track him down. Remember, a little bit of turf toe has maybe slowed him a step, but that's still a big gain for Terrence Edwards. He goes 54, matching his season high.
Little play fake for Michael Bishop to get McCullough here from the outside to bite in here. The play fake to Fred Reed, and watch how Bishop then gets the corner. There's McCullough biting the run fake, and then he gets the corner and gets inside, so he can drop it off to Terrence Edwards, and he does the rest.
A couple of Bomber receivers over 100 on the day, Edwards and Bowman. First time they've had two go over 100 in the same game this year. There's Bishop into the flat. Bowman has another catch. And flag on the play. If there was a late hit as Bishop comes up barking at James Patrick, the safety.
A late hit or maybe in the face mask.
And Bishop grabbed Patrick, had some words with him. The 3-minute warning given to the benches.
There's James Patrick off the edge. He's the guy who's going to get the late hit call here on Michael Bishop. It is a little late, and the officials have to determine quickly if Patrick could have veered off and avoided the contact. He also made contact in the head of Bishop. A close call, but one that they're going to throw the flag to protect the quarterback.
Ball on the 15-yard line, 1st and 10. Down by 15, Bishop, quick hitter. And out of the reach of Adarius Bowman. How big right now is that failure to convert on the goal line at the end of the first half?
Yeah, without question. And they had a chance there to really close the gap, grab some momentum, and the Riders shut the door in a great goal line stand. They've been trying to work the outside. Omar Morgan has been giving Adarius Bowman a little bit more room on the short side of the field.
Keith Shulligan's changed his number. He's the nose tackle now wearing 93 for Saskatchewan. 2nd and 10. Bishop, anybody open? Dumps it off. Fred Reed's got to beat some people. And he is stopped by Omar Morgan on the corner. And it'll set up 3rd down.
I don't think Mike Kelly has a choice now.
No. 2:24 on the clock. 3rd and 4.
And at 3rd and 4, even though it is the Bombers who are a running team, you've got to believe this becomes a passing down.
Interesting, though, 3 of the receivers not in the huddle. 3 of the receivers, Ralph, Bryant, and Bowman, were not in the huddle. And that ball into the end zone, incomplete. And no penalty marker.
Adarius Bowman thought he was thrown to the ground and tackled on his in route. Thought he would get an illegal contact. We showed you earlier on how the Bombers were calling plays from the sideline. That's one of the reasons I think the receivers don't have to come in the huddle, is because they can see the play. But Bowman's right here in the middle of in the right of your screen, and he goes down. He felt he had contact made there by Morgan, and that was illegal contact. He wanted a penalty, didn't get it. That ball goes incomplete and tipped.
What a day he's had. Omar Morgan with the knockdown there after preventing Fred Reed from getting a first down, an interception earlier in this game. And well, the veteran, 32 years of age in his 10th year, has come up huge on defense for Saskatchewan.
A couple of times now, that Rider defense backed up to the shadow of their own goalpost and have come up big.
Protecting a 15-point lead, Durant hands it off, straight ahead, Cates. More room there than you might have expected before Ike Charlton brings him down.
When you know you have a good running game is when you can run the ball successfully, when everyone in the park knows you have to run or want to run the ball. And that's exactly what the Riders would like to continue to do to eat up the rest of this clock.
117 yards for Cates against Hamilton. Was his biggest game of the season. But he's been a double threat today. 70 yards on the ground, but he's been very dangerous as a receiver. And now at 156 on 19 touches. give it back to him. Not much this time as he's wrestled down by Joe Lobendon once again. The game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
Well, let's start with Wes Cates with those touches. 157 total on 20 now after that last one. John Chick, what a game he's played. He has a knockdown added to those totals. 2 sacks early in the first half. Big game by Bowman. Maybe they got something going, a little chemistry between Michael Bishop and Adarius Bowman. But that was the story coming in, the last one. And Fred Reed, 260 yards rushing versus the BC Lions. And the Saskatchewan defense came up big against the run.
Clock continues to wind down, and again, the Bombers use their timeout. Dutch Brown envelops Wes Cates. You've been through this a lot of times. It usually turns out this way here, but it's often a completely different story in Winnipeg, where they have won 11 of the last 13 meetings in what is now known as the Banjo Bowl.
Yeah. Boy, and you know, I think of the 11 I played in that back-to-back series, and it felt like that. It felt like when the Bombers came here and we had the Labor Day game, it really didn't matter what the record was. It was the biggest game of the regular season. And the Riders have played well in this game. The opposite is true when they've gone in the back-to-back part and gone into that Banjo Bowl.
Bombers swept in 2004. Roughriders did it in 05 and 08. 06 and 07 they split. Devon Johnson avoids the first contact, and good return across midfield. Chris Zarka there. And so 51 seconds left, and Michael Bishop has to come up with a couple of miracles now.
His best passing game of the year. He was in 4 starts, well under 300 yards in all 4. He did find some chemistry with Adarius Bowman. They've used Terrence Edwards. Still can't find a way to get Robbie Bryant going.
And an injured Rough Rider, Jocelyn Fournette, down. So the passing game has shown flashes today, but John Chick has disrupted a lot of what the Bombers wanted to do offensively this afternoon.
He's just been unstoppable. Usually been matched up on Glenn January, who Mike Kelly told us was grading out as their best offensive lineman after 8 weeks. But John Chick has been all over the field. And it hasn't been fancy. It's just been hard-nosed, drive to the quarterback, bull rushing, and tremendous power. He now leads the CFL with 8 quarterback sacks.
It is quite a dynamic combination with Stevie Baggs on the other. A gun show.
Yeah. Which way to the beach?
John Chick, the star today. Last week, Baggs had 2 sacks, 10 tackles.
And a forced fumble. You know, in a game in Montreal that the Riders felt pretty good about, even though they didn't win. You know, they thought they were building things. Darian Durant threw for over 300 in that game against a real good Montreal defense.
No doubt you rarely hear players and coaches be as positive as the Rough Riders were coming out of a loss against Montreal that they felt was a statement for their entire team, and in large part Darian Durant, who did continue it on today and had an impressive afternoon. Ready to go for Michael Bishop, and he is an open man. Robbie Bryant at far side trying to get out to stop the clock, and they're going to say he did not get out of bounds.
It'll be another interesting week for the Bombers and Mike Kelly, I'm sure. You know, how much was the Pac-Man Jones issue a distraction, if it was at all? And the question will still hang over the head of Mike Kelly as to his starting quarterback and Michael Bishop and his inconsistencies. You know, he played pretty well except for those 2 throws.
Trying to find somebody to throw to here, and a lot of steamboats, and that one intercepted. There's another. Tad Tornegay, what an afternoon. Tornegay has another interception.
And I think Stevie Baggs we were talking a lot about his partner, John Chick, and he thought, wait a minute, guys, you know, you got to remember that I'm on the other side here, because he's the guy who who gets up here. I think he's the guy who tips it. And that tip allowed Cornegay the extra second to get there.
6 turnovers on the day for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who now have 33 takeaways on the season. Michael Bishop, who threw 7 interceptions in his last 2 starts as a Saskatchewan Roughrider, 4 in the Western Semi last year. And he's been victimized by the interception again today, and they'll run down the clock here as the Saskatchewan Roughriders poised to win their 5th consecutive Labor Day Classic.
Well, you know, the right back full circle, Chris, to talking about Darian Durant and what he did in the bye week. That may seem like a little thing, but believe me, folks, as a guy who's been in the locker room, when your quarterback decides to stay and watch film rather than go home and relax, that's a real sign of leadership.
Number 4, now 9-4 as a starter. Maybe a little more heat off him now as the time has elapsed here at Mosaic. It's a green day in Regina. 29-14, Saskatchewan win. They'll do it again next Sunday in the Banjo Bowl. We'll see you tomorrow in Calgary.